What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on these analysis. We're going to be looking at Microstrategy today. So we've been respecting this trend line long term, and this channel been playing out well. Still looks to be playing out well at the moment. We did get core PCE today, came in a little bit harder than expected, but the income for the average consumer was a little bit higher, so that's a good sign. But it was kind of a mixed bag. Market's not really reacting too much. You got a little bit of a move on Bitcoin, down 2-3%, and then Microstrategy's down at the moment about 6%. So let's see if this ends up being what we said could possibly happen. We said that we had two scenarios so we finally got the breakout. I said that I wasn't really sure if this was a retest or not, but I was saying we could catch momentum if it turned out good and retest and move up. The other scenario I did say that could likely happen with the core PCE was that this wasn't the breakout and we got the breakout, and now this could possibly be the retest of this horizontal level of support along with this downward sloping trend line. And then maybe we get the move back to this zone, eventually break, retest, and continue up higher. Nothing's guaranteed, because at the same time, what could possibly happen now is that we catch momentum to the downside, we get a close within this or underneath it, retest, and now we fall back within this range here. So we'll see how it plays out, of course, but we definitely don't want to fall back into this downward sloping trend line, because then that would be a fake out for this breakout move here. We want this to be a real confirmed breakout. And if we get a retest here and bounce and make it back to these levels and surpass it, then that would be a very, very bullish sign. Because this breakout already was very bullish, but we got to see. But at the same time, we're going to just look at a fib just on this small move here and see. Maybe it's just a pullback, a standard pullback. So if we pull it here, that's just a bounce off the 382, which is a confirmation of a strong move to the upside. And the golden zone, the 0.5 to the 0.618, is right here. So that's ranging from 274 up to about 287. So even within that region, it's still a strong confirmation to continue up. Nothing's guaranteed, of course, but just a heads up. So don't panic just yet. Start getting a little more concerned if we start falling back within this range and moving down lower, and then losing this horizontal level of support, then we can really see lower prices. Or as of now, it could just be a temporary pullback for another move higher. Overall, it looks very good. Still very bullish. I mean, you still have this horizontal level of support that was respected. Got 3 strong wicks off of it. You got a bullish candle right here. And now this could potentially be a retest. We'll see how this week closes. We only have 4 hours, so we have the rest of today, and that's pretty much it. But we did also say that this was possible because of what we saw in Bitcoin. Right here, as you can see, we were saying in the previous videos, if you go and watch a couple of those, we were saying that there's a chance that once we pull up to this downward sloping trend line, that could be a cause of resistance and allow price to start moving downward. And it looks like that's playing out. So we had multiple touches, and now we didn't have a touch, we didn't really have a touch here, but I mean, you can always move the trend line and probably make it a little bit tighter like that, and maybe you can consider that a touch then. There's always multiple ways of drawing trend lines. You can draw like touching only the tops of the wicks. You can draw straight to the bodies. You can do a combination of the tops and the bodies. So there's a million ways to skin a cat, but this is if you draw it this way, then you had a touch, and now it's pushing back off just how it's done previously, which could show a continuation of a downtrend, which is not good, but that's okay. Still bullish on Bitcoin overall. Could be another buying opportunity, but we do need to crack above this downward sloping trend line and this horizontal level of support and get back within this trading range that we were experiencing from November to about February. We want to get back in this range because that allows us to get back to all-time highs a lot easier and then beyond. Now, when we take a look at global liquidity, we're just going to do something that tries to give us a little guide of where this move could potentially take us. So we're just going to measure, this whole move right here. That's what we're doing here. And we're going to measure it up with the next one and see how close that was. They were about the same height, a little bit shorter than the first one. And now this one, this spike in global liquidity is actually larger than the first two. So if that's the case, and this sharp move up was larger than these two past spikes in global liquidity, and we know Bitcoin and MicroStrategy are tied to global liquidity, this move here was this move, and this move here was this move that we had in September. So if this one's larger, then maybe we get a larger move than what we had in these two prior moves. So we'll do, I don't know, we'll add a 15 to 20% to what we had here. So here we had a 350% move. This move in global liquidity was a little bit shorter than this last one, but we still ended up pushing up a little bit higher. Now let's see if we add just another, we'll add another 20%. That one was 370. So we'll say this one's 390. These are just guesses, just having fun. It's nothing guaranteed, nothing official. There's no true logic behind that additional 20%. I'm just saying it's a larger move than the past two. Global liquidity spike with the lag was larger than this one and this one. So this is the largest spike that we've had in these past three moves in global liquidity. So let's see if that reflects in price. And this move is larger than this one and this one. But it still lines up with our bull flag that lines up, that called that move. And we're seeing if it can call this move here, which also lines up in that same region, which goes into the golden zones, which I'll do towards the end of the video. In terms of SMA, we got a strong bounce off the weekly 50, and we are finding resistance at the 20-week right now. So along with this horizontal level of support, we have that strong 20-week support and resistance on the SMA, acting as resistance at the moment. We did fall underneath the 50-day, which we need to reclaim. I thought we were possibly getting a retest to bounce off of it, but it's still early, because we can still, if we close at 315 or higher, then we are still holding the 50-day. So we'll see how today finishes, and that'll kind of determine what could possibly happen. But we also did get a bounce off the 20-day and the horizontal level of support. In terms of the Bollinger Bands, we did make it to the red band. Like I said, we don't spend too much time on the outer bands, the red or the green. So we pushed up to the red, and now we got to push back to the blue, and we got to bounce off of it. So let's see if that is a continuation back to the red band. On the weekly, we got a rejection off the middle band, the blue band. So let's see if we can reclaim that by the following week. And let's see if next week ends up being something where it's kind of like a wick fill. So let me see if I can draw something out to kind of explain what I'm saying. Maybe next week, like for instance, let's say this week closed exactly like this. Let's say we get a next week. When I say wick fill, I mean something where, for instance, we get a wick like this. Okay, so this is not the best drawing, but this definitely explains what I'm trying to say. It's a terrible drawing though. So you have a wick here, and the body of the candle being green. And this is what I mean by a wick fill. It fills this previous wick. So maybe we can see something like this happening in the following week. Nothing guaranteed, of course. Let me delete all this. So maybe that's what we get in the following week. But I think things still look very good. Nothing to panic about yet. And I think Bitcoin's still moving up to higher levels. I think we're still earlier in the cycle for what's coming to the end of the year. We are still pushing upwards to the SMA, or the moving average, the yellow line here. We are bouncing off of this midline of strength here on the RSI, and we're trying to get to the yellow line. And we did have somewhat of a downtrend, as you can see here. But it looks like we kind of broke out, and we're trying to reclaim that strength and take over this yellow moving average. On the daily, we actually fell back underneath. Maybe this is just a retest, but we did fall. We've been creating higher highs and higher lows, but we did fall underneath this yellow moving average, which we want to hold that, because that's going to show that we have continued strength. But we kind of did somewhat break the trend line, depending on how you draw it. But we want to get a bounce off of this midline of strength and continue up to the top of the range, so price can follow up and have a continued move that's strong and sustainable. On the MACD, we're still looking good. It is trying to curl back down, so let's see if we can get a bounce off the orange line and continue up and start seeing these green candles push up higher on the daily. On the weekly, we're still in the same position that we were prior. We just want to see these red candles dwindle down, turn white, and then eventually turn green. And then we're going to finish it off with some Fibonacci, golden zones. Talk about those really quick. So we'll start from here and show this first move that we had. We had 2-3 bounces off the 0.5 to the 618, the golden zone, and we continued on higher. This move is looking kind of similar. So we'll take it from the beginning of the move. We got a bounce. The golden zone has been acting as a magnet essentially. So we've been playing around this zone plenty of times. We've closed outside, back inside. We pushed outside of it, and now we're pushing back inside of the golden zone. So we definitely want to get a close above the 0.5 to show that continued strength, and then a retest of the golden zone and potentially push higher. But at the time, we're still stuck in limbo between the 0.5 and the 618. So we're kind of indecisive, and we don't know if we want to break down or continue up in terms of the golden zone. And then on the flip side, we have the golden zones where you can call your potential targets with the 2618. So pulling from this high to the start of this leg coincides with the flagpole. They called the 2618 to the 2272. And now we're going to move that one here for anybody who hasn't seen this. And we're starting from the bottom of this move, and that coincides with this target here, the 2272 and the 2618, which would bring us to about anywhere from 1,000 to 1250. Even higher if we get some kind of blow off top, like we see here, or something similar to that, which I do believe when MicroStrategy is done with its move, the last move is probably going to look something like that, because it gets an over-exaggerated, leveraged move when the MNAV is skyrocketing, and it'll get something crazy where it'll open up like 25-30% and then fall throughout the rest of the day, and that'll be the last move, last hurrah. But anyways, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.